Welcome to Autism Knows No Borders. Discover what's possible when people impacted by autism inspire change and build community. Together with the Global Autism Project, here's your host, Rachel Harmon.
Hello, everyone. This week's episode is a recording of one of our Global Autism Community exclusive events. The topic of this roundtable discussion was health and wellness. It was hosted by community moderator Mary Johnston. A 21-year-old Autistic Self-Advocate from New Hampshire, Mary hosts a blog called Autistic Rainbow 15, where she shares LGBTQ+ and disability-friendly tips, as well as information about inclusion and disability rights. A longtime member of our online Global Autism Community, Mary joined the moderator team last summer to help ensure our space remains safe and respectful. Participating in this event were Autistic Self-Advocate Michelle Vinokurov and community members Dejan Greer and Liz Castillo. In today's conversation, they discuss mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual health, self-care, how to reduce stress levels, maintaining routines, why sleep is important, accepting an autism diagnosis, and changing habits for self-improvement. In this episode, discover what's possible when health extends beyond the body. To learn more about the participants in this discussion, please visit our show notes at autismknowsnoborders.com. Roundtable discussions like the one you'll hear today are open exclusively for members of our online Global Autism Community. We select a different theme each month, and our moderators monitor posts daily to ensure that our online space remains safe and respectful. If you'd like to attend and participate in any of our future events, you can sign up today at community.globalautismproject.org. We appreciate your time. If you enjoy this podcast and you'd like to support our mission, please take just a few seconds to share it with one person who you think will find value in it too. You can also follow us on Instagram at Autism Podcast, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Global Autism Project, and join our online community on Mighty Networks at community.globalautismproject.org. And now, I present you the Global Autism Community.
Welcome to the Global Autism Podcast. So today I'm the moderator holding the meeting. I'm Mary Johnston, for anyone who doesn't know that out there. Self-advocate and right now a current moderator. And today we're going to talk about health in all forms, such as physical or maybe religious or spiritual. So I'd like to open up the floor to anyone who would like to speak on mental or emotional health. And asking the question, has anyone here struggled with mental health? And what benefits have helped you through that? And how do you take care of your mental health?
So for me, I know in regards to taking care of my mental health, as you may know, I work more than one job, and that's not easy for people to do that. And so for me, like when it comes to balancing everything, I'm like, what I do is that I make sure when I get home, like I am not doing anything work related whatsoever, because I think we all can know that like work can be very stressful and it impacts our health very much. So I always make sure that I'm not doing too much of anything that's work related, like especially when it's 8:00 at night. I'm like, I tell myself I'm done. I better go enjoy like spending time outside to where I'm listening to music or reading a book and spending time with family. Those are just some things that I do to really take care of my mental health.
That's great. I'd say for me, I definitely agree on what you were saying. Working is definitely a stressful thing, especially as an autistic person, because there's so many lights and sounds and stimulation that you take in through the day. And when I'm definitely done with work or school or chores, I too just like to sit down and relax and maybe watch TV, or I love drawing and crafting. So those are things that I do to help my mental health.
I think for me, something that I've come into this season has really been impactful for me is realizing that different situations in my life and different periods and time frames of my life, I need to adjust what I do in order to do like self-care and take care of both my mental and physical health and emotional health. So it's definitely been something that has been a bit of a challenge for me, honestly, because, you have your routine that works for a season or for a certain time period, and then all of a sudden it's a little bit harder. And you're just like, well, why aren't the things that usually fill my cup working? And I think for me, it was like a little bit of a learning curve to realize like it's okay to change the way that I seek help or change the things that maybe were filling my cup before aren't filling my cup now. So that's definitely something that I've learned as far as like making sure that I'm taking care of myself physically, emotionally, and mentally, that it changes and it might look different this month than it will in maybe 6 months. And just keeping in mind that there are different things and different ways of practicing self-care and taking care of myself. So that's been something that I've just really been practicing currently in this stage of life. So that's filled with like taking time for myself, a lot of downtime, upping like the amount of therapy like sessions that I have. Definitely just kind of just being gentle with myself during this season of my life. Whereas before, filling my cup and self-care might have been going out and being social and hanging out with friends. But right now that doesn't feel like it's self-care. Right now that feels a bit draining to me. So just kind of learning that as life continues to go, like I change and I can change the way that I do self-care. So yeah, that's been a learning curve for me, but it's been good.
Great points. I appreciate you sharing that. And you're definitely right. Like we need to know kind of our triggers and what we can do to help us relax and, just find ways to unwind at the end of the day. I'd like to open up the floor to our newest guest if you'd like to share anything. We're talking about mental health.
Well, hey, I'm Dijon. Nice to meet everyone. I am currently in Lafayette, Louisiana. That's where I live, and I work with children in the autism spectrum. I work for a place called Aspire Behavioral Health. And with that, we provide ABA services. I've been doing that for about 5 years or so, since 2017. I'm originally from Daytona Beach, Florida. My background is also actually it's in criminal justice, but then I started to get into forensic psychology, and then I kind of maneuvered my way into just psychology in general, just because I wanted to actually study mental health and different things like that. So mental health has been a part of my life for many, many, many years, just, throughout family history. And then I actually started to take it more serious when I actually started to learn more about it. Because, as I talk to my friends and people who, tell me things like, it's not that hard to get things done, or especially with some of my mental health diagnoses and things like that. I have to explain it to them. It's just the same as physical health and mental health. If you see somebody limping, is your foot okay? Is your knee okay? But if you see somebody struggling mentally, and then you won't ask them, not necessarily your brain okay, but are you okay? And things like that. So I just try to maintain a relationship with mental health as more important as I do with my physical health. And just with that, I just started back therapy on Monday, because what happened was I was going to therapy a lot, like maybe twice every other week or so. And then my bill ran up for some reason. I don't know. I thought my insurance was covering it, but they had in their system I was paying cash. And then it just kind of made me upset. And I was like, so I had to hold back a while to get caught up on my billing. So I was excited about getting back into therapy on Monday. So I do that every other week now. Just between that, I do have experience with seeing a psychiatrist. So, oh yeah, is that a clap or a hand raise?
Clap my hands.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry.
love that for you. I'm glad that you're back in it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I was trying to get logged on and stuff, so sorry I was late. That's number one. But yeah, I'm happy to be here. And like I said, my main goal now is to kind of start up. Well, let me go on. With my program, my job, they actually assigned me as the mental health coordinator and wellness coordinator. So it's kind of a promotion because I was going to school for a BCBA, but I exhausted all my attempts. That's another reason why I wanted to get my mental health straight, because it took me 8 times to pass the test and I didn't pass now one of them. You know what I'm saying? So in a sense, it kind of deterred me from wanting to do it. But then at the same time, I was like, no, it's a goal that I want to do. So, I get another opportunity to do it when my time comes up and circles back around in February. So it's not over. So it's just like a halt to try to get myself right. And I applied for an accommodation and everything, but I didn't do it until the 8th time. And I should have did it maybe like the 4th or, maybe the 3rd or 2nd time. But, it doesn't necessarily stop me from wanting to do it. It's just a step back for a major step forward. So I'm just happy about that. So that's one of the reasons I'm here, just to kind of get some mental health awareness thing and take it back to my job and different people and things like that. So maybe next time we have more people in here for my job and stuff. So thanks for letting me
awesome.
Sorry, I'm trying to get it all out without wasting too much time or talking too much, because that's what I'll be doing. I talk a lot. So thanks for listening.
Therapy has definitely helped me in a lot of ways. For me personally, being autistic, I struggle a lot with regulating emotions. So therapy has helped me a little bit with that, helping me to process it and the stressors of going out, because everything is so loud and so bright because, when you're autistic, everything's amplified. So you're like, wow.
Yep.
So that's definitely helped a lot. And I love that you're studying psychology. I actually took that in college and I thought it was really interesting too. So yeah, you had some great points there.
Well, thank you. Yeah, if you have any questions too, I mean, that's just the main thing. Like I said, what I was getting to, I wanted to start up it's a slogan, but it's more like a brand. It's called Abide Inspirations. Abide stands for always believe in dreams and evolving. And just through that, I want to be able to kind of just tie, mental health, physical health, and health and wellness with everything, which is one of the reasons why my job kind of chose me for the position, just to kind of, help people abide, because that's what I want to do, help people abide just worldwide. That's why I got into the Global Autism Community as well, just to kind of like just spread that, because abide, like I said, stands for always believe in dreams and evolving. And it's just breaking it down means always believing, like I say, in dreams. And then just the evolution process, just of never ending learning, always wanting to, see what's next, see what's out there, just exploring the world and exploring different people and different things like that. So I'm excited.
I see that Michelle has raised her hand. Did you have a question or a comment?
I want to let you know, Dijon, that we love in our community being able to promote people's posts and everything, and just for people to share incredible resources. So just so you know that please feel free to share anything from your experiences as well, because I could tell you have a lot of valuable experience and with mental health and even in general from other fields, with, as you've mentioned, with psychology, which I recently graduated from my university, and my bachelor's degree is in psychology. It is in psychology, and it has that concentration in ABA. So I took courses that were psychology based and also based on ABA. So it was very interesting. I'll tell you that. And there's a lot that people can learn.
Congratulations.
Yes, congrats again to Michelle on your college degree. That's so exciting.
Thanks, Mary.
All right. So going into our next topic, I'd like to bring awareness to the importance of physical health and wellness. So I'm going to ask the question, do you get fitness time at home or at the gym? If so, what's your favorite exercise or other ways to work out?
Honestly, I like to do the easy thing, push-ups. I'll drop down and do 15, 10 all day. I do have a pull-up bar, so I'll do that, especially in the morning. Sometimes in the morning I have my dogs, so I'll do that as well. I walk miles just to get them out, not just for them. I always walk. I'm like, come on, y'all, it's time to go for my walk. I'll bring them along, and I just like to walk and do things, here and there, just to kind of get the blood flowing and just give me a motivation too, because that's a part of ABA. I do a lot of stuff with my ADHD because that's one of my diagnoses, my inattentive ADHD. I can't concentrate on certain things, or I'll put certain things off. So I tell myself, all right, do the push-ups to give you that motivation. Not only is that good physically, but mentally it'll, charge you up to get up and do certain things and just kind of get yourself motivated, get those dopamine things flowing and getting all those good good feeling hormones and stuff like that. So it's kind of just certain small little things. I used to try to want to go find a gym, then I want to go lift weights, and I just tried to put too much on myself. And I was just like, all right, plant the seed, start small, and then after that, just kind of watch it grow. So small steps turns into big leaps.
That's awesome. I know for me personally, I really like walking when I'm stressed. And my neighbor, she has this dog named Drake. He's a black lab mix from the shelter, and she actually lets me walk him. So I get to go down and I get to give him a 15-minute walk. He's an old man. He's 9.5 years old, and he hates rain. So on the days when it's raining, he refuses to walk, and he parks his fat butt outside. And I'm like, come on, bud. And he's like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. But when it's nice and sunny outside, he will walk with me. But I find that such a fun way to exercise, and I love taking walks with him.
So I was laughing really hard when you said that, because one of the ways that I am on top of, like, one of the main reasons I'm on top of getting some sort of like physical activity in my day is because I also have a dog, and he is also an old man. He is 11. And so now that we live in Alaska, when it starts to snow, he has like two faces. Like when it's falling, he's super stoked. He gets like the zoomies and he starts running around and jumping. He loves it when it's snowing. But then like the tiniest amount of wind comes in with the cold and he's like, nope, like I am not going on this walk. And I usually get his leash and he comes running. But when it's windy and it's like anything below 20 and I get his leash, he's like, nope. No. And he just like goes down and his ears go down. He really does not want to go out either. So that part about the rain and your friend's dog not wanting to walk, that made me laugh because I felt that. Aside from like those walks, like once the winter really hits, I do like kind of make sure to up my physical activities. So I just like go to the gym that's like around the corner and I try to do like some stretches and lift some weights. But yeah, those walks are usually what I can like for sure count on.
I just wanted to say real quick, I also have a black cat named Shelly, and she's not a huge fan of the snow. So yeah, just following what Elizabeth said, like when it snows, she's in and she does what she has to do and she comes right back in. I just think it's funny how animals react with the weather.
I would add on to that, like, before I share any of my experiences, like we've been talking about with fitness now and everything, but you guys have been talking about with your pets and everything. So I just gotta say this with my dog. So his name is Snowy. He's white, curly dog. Back when we were living in New Jersey before we've been living in Florida. So what was very ironic was that his name is Snowy, but guess what? He didn't like the snow whatsoever. So like the moment he would step on the snow, he'd be like, nope, turning around, going back home. Just like, I'm like, what? So it was very ironic about that because of the fact that his name is Snowy. And he's an old man too, just like Liz, you were saying. My dog is 13 years old. 13 years old.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, yeah. But now, like, I want to transition that to share a little bit with my experiences with fitness. So it actually kind of, growing up for me, I was actually always an active kid because of my parents. My mom had me and my siblings, my brother and my older sister, we all did, as a family, we all did Taekwondo. So that's where it all started from there. And let me tell you my experiences with Taekwondo. Fun fact, I did get my black belt when I was 10 years old. And yeah, yeah. But because of that experience, like just, it developed like so many skills for me. Not only I was getting fitness at the time, and thanks, John. Not only I was getting to like I was slowly getting to fitness and everything. Like my mom, after we were done with Taekwondo, when it got too expensive and everything, and we were trying to figure out like other alternative ways to still keep up like with physical health, like my mom really was getting me into strength training. So like back in New Jersey, my mom made a at-home gym in our basement, like got weights and everything, like elliptical, rowing machine. And we actually took a lot of that here into Florida. So I've been doing that ever since then. So like sometimes a message here is that sometimes you're going to have other people that will motivate you to get into fitness. And I pretty much exercise at home, and a lot of times also am active outside.
Great points. Congratulations on your black belt. And I love that you mentioned strength training and weights. When I was younger, I actually did a lot of physical therapy as well because I had a lot of low muscle tone. And my occupational therapist, I spoke about this in my podcast episode, but she actually said that I need to work on upper body strength. So that way, if there was an emergency, I could have better hand-eye coordination if I were to have to do like an emergency evacuation or something. But actually now, it's funny because I help my dad with a lot of chores. So when it snows in the winter, I'm always shoveling, and that shovel is heavy. I also rake the roof, I mow the lawn, and I actually stack wood and I bring it in too. But we have like a 2-story house, so I have to bring it in through the basement, and that wood is like a 50-pound wheelbarrow. So I have to like lift it up, push it in, and then I have to carry it all the way up and downstairs, like back and forth. So that's my little 30-minute cardio workout of the day in the winter.
I have a quick question, just because as someone who used to formally provide support for families for the neurodiverse community, it just makes me wonder, like, I know a lot of times I've had parents who would ask, like, they just have so much energy. Like, there's just like, I can't play with them forever. I have to get chores done. I have to do work. I have to do this. Like, but they just have so much energy. And a lot of times we try to like ask questions of like, well, what are their like interests? Like, what do they seem to enjoy? Like, how can we, put those two together where they're using their energy and doing something that they enjoy? And a lot of times, from my experience, a lot of parents were a little skeptical and a little nervous of like enrolling their kids into extracurricular activities and sports because they just didn't know if it would be too hard on them, if they would be overwhelmed, or if they would feel like they were forcing them to do it. And I have questions because I have the opportunity of asking you two that are adults that have gone through like these types of, how would that conversation look? Like if a parent came to you asking like, I don't know, like what if they're too overwhelmed? What if it's too much? But I also feel like they have a lot of energy. Like, would you encourage them to have their kids enroll into these and say, hey, like make sure you're just checking in and checking, like being observant of like, are they enjoying it? Are they not? What would that conversation look like? Because I've had this conversation in the past with so many different parents where they're like, I want to, but I also don't want to make them feel like it's another thing they have to do, or they don't want to overwhelm them. They don't want to sign them up for something that they might not actually enjoy, but at the same time they have all this energy. So yeah, just curious as to your guys' perspective who are actually autistic. How would you handle a conversation like that?
I'm going to let Michelle go first, and then I'm going to list some ideas.
So I know because of how he's asked that question, it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier about like how like growing up I was into sports as a kid, such as with Taekwondo and everything. But yet, my mom wasn't always attending herself, which another quick fun fact, that my whole family are black belts. My brother, my older sister, my mom, we're all black belts. So funny thing. But anyway, getting back on topic now, is that my mom wasn't always available to attend because of other responsibilities and everything. And so if someone were to ask, especially like besides from my experiences, not only I was in sports, I was also receiving tutoring, I was other things. And my parents had the same kind of questions as like a lot of parents, like, was it going to be too much? But Honestly, like, you want to do what benefits for your child. Like, what do they really need the most? Like, what's more important for them, like, in the moment that's going to help them for their future, such as like, if you want your child to focus more on fitness, get them into a sport, whatever they're interested in. Let them try out like once or twice. Like my parents had with me trying out with soccer, and that did not go so well. Yeah, so it was a whole buddy program and everything. Like I had my older sister involved and everything. We did it together, but I wasn't as engaged. So you also want to keep an eye out about that. Is your child being engaged in that activity? So you want to be aware about that as well. So it's really about like understanding your child in terms of, yes, their interests, and like also giving things like a try at least once, just finding that kind of balance there. And also like, if you're more focused for them on the academic, then definitely consider about like enrolling them into like with a place for tutoring, or like something they're interested in that's going to really help them grow in various skills. So that's the kind of conversation I would have for parents. Absolutely.
Excellent points. So I would say, following back to Elizabeth's statement, too much energy, what do we do? I saw a creative idea called an indoor like jungle gym. Usually what parents will do is like their basement, they'll set up like a little section with like maybe a small trampoline or like a little swing set, and the kids can kind of go at it and have their own space to be messy and creative, and they can be loud and energetic and kind of have that space to burn off some energy. I heard sometimes they'll take walks with their dogs because of the benefits that animals have for autistic people. Following off of Michelle's idea, I definitely agree that extracurriculars are great. Getting your kids into sports and things like that can work on muscle strength or hand-eye coordination, which can bring benefits. I definitely think for mental health, things they're interested in can definitely help. I know that I am a theater kid at heart, and I grew up a theater kid. It's what I'm interested in. It's what my parents were interested in. And I met a lot of friends through art classes and theater and things like that. And I also got better at interaction skills through Girl Scouts, actually, which my mom enrolled me in when I was maybe 6 or 7, I think, roughly. And we would build crafts together and fairy houses and fun things like that. So I think those are ways that can help. And I definitely think that if you know your young kid is autistic, definitely pack a little sensory bag for them. I think definitely a snack, or maybe like a change of clothes if they get like messy or just need something more comfortable. Definitely like ear protection if it gets too loud, maybe like a little squishy toy. I have these fun little stress balls. They might like these. You can get them off of Amazon. I got a little world here. Her name is Unity, but I think that might be a fun idea for them.
I love that. Thank you guys for sharing your perspectives. And I love the like very concrete ideas of like, if a family is going to try it out, like make sure you pack a bag full of like all of their like needs, that will help support them in this like new trial of like a sport or extracurricular activity. That's really great. Thanks for sharing.
All right. So many autistics, I know myself included, usually struggle with sleep. What are some ways we can improve sleeping habits or reduce certain illnesses like headaches or back pains? And what are ways that you like to reduce your stress levels?
I'll go first. One thing I recently started doing, I started talking to my therapist, but I just stopped trying to fight it, because it seemed like the more I try to put myself on a schedule or saying, oh, you need to be asleep, or, time to get up, I kind of just stopped fighting it and kind of just listen to my body more, and, take naps here and there. I do a lot of deep meditation, try to put my brain on different kind of wavelengths, alpha, beta, theta, and those kind of wavelengths. I do listen to music. because I'm not really a TV watcher, because I can't sit there long enough to watch TV, or I don't know what's going on after about 30 minutes of the show. I can't name a character or nothing like that. So what I do is I just try to do a lot of meditation and relaxing. Eventually I'll just, put myself on kind of like all right, day by day sleep schedule, if that makes sense. Today I'll probably go to sleep at, when I'm tired around this time, or, like I said, I just stop trying to fight it. If I'm up in the middle of the night, I'll get up and do something productive, and then I'll lay back down. If not, I'll just stay up. And, it was certain things that I just try to get done instead of just trying to fight it. I just try to use it to my advantage, if that makes sense.
Those are excellent points. I know for me personally, I have a lot of obsessive thoughts sometimes when I get stressed. So I definitely agree with your point of stop fighting it. Because usually when you think like, stop thinking that, it usually just makes it worse,
Mm-hmm.
And definitely listening to your body more. Like if you're feeling stressed, maybe not go to a crowded grocery store that day, because you're kind of playing with fire there. I definitely do enjoy meditation as well. I have this app called Stop, Breathe, and Think, and it guides me through like these deep breathing exercises on how to calm down if I feel panicky or anything. I definitely do love music as well. I know a lot of autistics do, but my favorite thing about music is that it connects through any emotion. You can listen to music when you're mad or sad or stressed, and the people in that song are singing about what you feel in the current moment, and you can relate to them. But definitely my way of getting a better night's sleep, I'd say routine. So I always go to bed at the same time, because even if I don't feel tired, it helps like convince my brain like, okay, we've had our fun, we've watched TV, we've, had tea or whatever, it's time to go to bed. And if we wake up, maybe we could hang out a little bit if we truly can't sleep, but we got to keep a consistent schedule here. Otherwise, our brain is going to be like, oh, let's stay up till 3 a.m. the next day, and that kind of messes things up for me.
I know for me, like, obviously the same as what you guys trying to have that routine and everything, but and especially why for me routine of the sleep schedule is important as well is because, as you may know, like also with autistics having like other co-occurring conditions, like for me, I actually also live with a rare migraine condition ever since I was a little girl. And I still don't know why to this day, why I have the migraines the way I do. But whatever I do, like what the ways like I try to take care of myself, part of it has to do with sleep. Because a lot of times my condition occurs, a lot of the times it happens at night. So I try to make sure that I'm always getting a good night's sleep. So that way I get enough hours of sleep instead of losing hours. So I think that's why, like, even like for those who do live with a co-occurring condition like I do, like just know that like sleep is important. So you gotta make sure that you're getting your hours in, and definitely, as everybody else has mentioned, like just having that routine of like when you're going to bed and stuff. And I know I do that as well, also because of with jobs that I'm working and everything. So I always make sure that I wake up on time. So you got to always balance that.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing. I know for me personally, I also have a co-condition. I have generalized anxiety disorder, and I also have a condition called depersonalization derealization disorder, which is where if you get so stressed continuously, your brain kind of shuts off and you find yourself in kind of this place that doesn't really feel real. And it's very hard to explain, but it's a very kind of terrifying reality that you've created yourself. But it's important that when we talk about anxiety and things like that, I think we bring awareness to it, because I didn't even know what it was until my doctor told me, actually. So I'm glad I know what it is, so now I can manage it a little bit better.
Yeah, I definitely am going to look up the second one you said. What was that called?
It was called depersonalization derealization disorder.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that before. It's definitely appreciated when you share stuff like that like how you shared that you didn't know much about anxiety and you learned about it after your doctor mentioned that to you. I think that's how we can learn to kind of really like understand ourselves too. I also have anxiety, and then I've had postpartum depression. And I think like just coming to terms with like the reality of something, you have more understanding for what you're going through. And you're able to then like take the steps forward to really like do what you need to do to take care of yourself, right? I'm just sitting there like, am I broken? Is something wrong with me? Why is this so hard? And it's something that, as you shared, experience it and being vulnerable and open, because we're not the only ones, right? And other people have these same conditions. Other people go through these same sort of thoughts and moments in their life. And I think when we're able to openly share about it, we don't know whose ears we're touching that they're saying like, hey, I'm not alone. Like, me too. I think it's so great that you're able to share that and that we're all able to come together and really talk about it openly. Taking it a step back to like the sleep, I realized like sleep is huge. And when you have little ones, it's a little hard because they wake up in the middle of the night, you got to nurse them and all that. But it was really helpful when I came up with a plan of like, I couldn't just kind of every day see where the day took me. I had to like really be, I guess, mindful and intentional about when I'm starting my bedtime. And so for me, it really helped with like having that set routine, because it kind of gave my bright brain the heads up of like, hey, it's time to start winding down. So like any thoughts, that intrusive thoughts that were coming, like I could like, face them in the moment instead of just going from active all day up and then straight to bed. And then now I'm getting hit with all these thoughts while I'm in bed trying to sleep. So it was like a slow wind down. And it started like with bath time or bed, like shower time. Then I would have like a chamomile tea. And then from my chamomile tea, I'd do like relaxing lotions and oils. And then I would put either ocean sounds or like that, like the bilateral sounds are really nice for me. They're like soothing and really, really helpful as far as like getting me to just kind of like focus on something and shut down all the thoughts so I can really fully get some restful sleep. So yeah, I think we've all realized like sleep is so important, not only for our mental health, but it seeps into our physical health, because then if we're super tired the next morning, we're reaching for all of those things that have sugars, that have carbs, the caffeine. And we all know that those things aren't the greatest to fill our bodies with out of moderation, right? So I think it's just so important I'm so thankful, Mary, that you brought up sleep, because it's so important for our mental and our physical health. And it can sometimes be overlooked by people when they're like, well, I'm doing all the things and I'm doing this and I'm doing this. And it's like, oh, well, how's your rest? How much sleep are you getting? And that kind of is like, ooh, I hadn't even like thought of that. So I think that's great. And then you mentioned an app that you use that's really helpful when you're feeling stressed out. And for me, one of the apps that I've found really helpful, it's called Thought Journal. And it helps challenge any like negative thoughts, or when I'm going down like a spiral, it helps me kind of like challenge those thoughts and look at them from a different perspective. And I have found it really helpful. It's not like a in the moment thing. It's maybe like once I've used coping strategies and I'm calm, then I can later go back to that thought and kind of reflect on it and work through it. And I think it's been really helpful for me. Again, it's Thought Journal, and there's like the free version, and then there's like the option to upgrade to certain things. But for me, like just having that step-by-step guide of like, well, what did you think? And why did you think that? And it's just like walks you through it has been really helpful for me.
Absolutely. I know sometimes I like to journal on my phone about how I feel. It helps me process and kind of put it all together so I can calm down and take a deep breath and then just move on. Because sometimes when you feel these big feelings, it just kind of sticks with you and you kind of hold a grudge until you can just get rid of it,
Yeah, I like journaling too as well. Like even pretty much ever since I was a little girl, really, because like not only my parents had me work on my writing skills, but that was another benefit too. It's just that the fact that like I was writing down completely, like I would write down like about my day, like how I was feeling, what did I go through and stuff. And it really just let go of a lot of those negative emotions that if there were any from the day, you just let them go on paper, and it just like comes out, pours out, and it's like, wow, you're like all fresh and new again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Great points, everyone. Our next point is about the importance of spiritual wellness. And that could be summed up in many ways because when you think about spirituality, it could be something like church or any sort of religion, or it could be meditation or journaling or taking a walk or even spending time with friends and family. So I want to open up the floor to anyone who wishes to talk about their spiritual journey. And I want to let people know that this is a safe space for anyone who has had trauma with religious spaces in any way. And anyone who would like to talk about that can go.
All right, well, I'll go because one of the spiritual things that I talk about when I'm starting to open up more about, I had a near-death experience maybe back in like 2008, 2009. I was standing outside with my brother. He was auditioning for Beyonce to be a background dancer. So it was in Chicago at the time. It was the winter. So I was standing outside with tennis shoes and in the snow. And long story short, I had pneumonia. But as the night went on, I was getting sicker and sicker and colder until like the middle of the night. I was just kind of fighting for my life at this time. I was just kind of cold and shaking and shivering, and to the point where I just kind of like, I was like telling myself to stay awake, stay awake, stay awake. But at this particular time, I just couldn't. I was so cold. I just couldn't kind of breathe anymore. I was shaking and shivering to the point where I kind of just relaxed and kind of went to sleep. But then at this particular time, I just saw a supernova, and then I just was like, when I saw the supernova, it was so peaceful, and it was just I was cold, and I was just then all of a sudden, sun said, "Not yet." But then I saw a big white light, and I kind of came back too, and then I got up and I went and threw up, and I just kept fighting, and then this lasted for about 24 hours or so for a while, but I just kept fighting. Then because I was in Chicago, then we flew back home to find out, I did have pneumonia and things like that. But just with that, just tapping back into that, knowing that, I still feel like I have a second chance, I'm here for a reason, things that I, believe in necessarily geared towards, just life in general, just about being able to, be there for people, being able to be that voice. Because honestly, about maybe 2 years ago, I probably would have chickened out of trying to come to something like this. But now I'm just trying to open up and, just go to therapy and deal with my anxiety and on a lot of things. And when y'all mentioned earlier about the intrusive thoughts, I read this book, Daniel Amen. I don't know if y'all know Dr. Daniel Amen. He's one of the leading talk he does with brain scans and things like that. But one of the things, long story short, he talks about ants, which is automatic negative thoughts. And with that, when these intrusive ants come in, we just got to squish them and, try to maintain, a healthy brain and just kind of keep up the why, why you're here and who you're here for and some of the things that you kind of just have to, believe in, just spiritual and just kind of just like, knowing that you're here for a reason and kind of like I said, take advantage of it. That's one of my things I like to do and just help people abide. And then after that, just kind of just up and up and up and up and up. So that's one of the things I do. Just kind of remember my why. That's my spiritual journey right now. Just kind of remember why I'm here, take everything I can into consideration and just be able to help people and just being able to, help them see why they're here. So
Yeah, absolutely. I know with me, a couple of years ago, back in 2017, I was having a really hard time in school. I was always getting bullied, and my classes were really challenging, and life was just stressful for a lot of different reasons. And I just heard kind of this voice in the back of my head telling me, don't give up, and trust me. And I was always worrying about the future and where I would be in 5-10 years. And thankfully, because I heard that voice, I'm now a college honor student and I have just a wonderful relationship with my family that I love so much. I have wonderful animals that I can love and care for. And I'm just really happy now. I've graduated high school with a diploma, and I just feel safe and complete. And I feel personally, with my beliefs in God, that He made me autistic and unique for a reason, and that I can safely be who I am, and who I am is important, and there is beauty in diversity.
I think part of it for me with the process is just like, I felt like learning about my autism diagnosis, like, I was diagnosed early on. The fact that like really truly having that awareness when I was in middle school really changed a lot of my life perspectives and everything. Like knowing that like, yeah, it's okay that I think differently. Like I bring a lot to the table and stuff that, I feel like a lot of people, that wouldn't have thought about in this world. And other people could relate with this in our community and stuff. So, and I know on the religious side of it that like with my family being here in Florida and with my family, like I was raised in a Jewish family. So for us, we attend a Chabad and stuff first. And I just, places like religious places like that, like a Chabad to church, like it helps with not just like spiritual, but also like your mental health, because you're having that like relationship with God. And we learn so much about ourselves from like all these experiences that we go through and everything. But as you said before, Mary, I could definitely relate with that. And like I felt like, especially learning about being autistic was a big part of like my growth in life and like being where I'm at today because of that positive impact that I've gotten. And I know it's different for everybody. Like when they learn about their diagnosis, it's so divided still about it, but yeah.
Yeah, I know for me personally, when I was diagnosed, I felt really like a wave of depression, but also kind of a piece of closure as well, because I knew who I was, but I was also mourning the fact that there are things I'm not going to be able to do, or there are things I'm not going to be able to do like a neurotypical can. I may do it differently, but I won't be able to do it the way they do. And, when you're growing up as a neurodiverse or an autistic teenager, and I saw all my friends say, oh, I got this for the first time. I just got my driver's license. I can go to the mall completely alone. I felt left out in a sense because I felt like I can't do that right now, or I'm not allowed to do that right now. And it made me feel really depressed because I kind of felt like an outcast, and I had to teach myself it's okay to feel that way. You are allowed to feel that way, and you're allowed to come over that and embrace the way that you do it.
Well, that's a good point. One of the things that you mentioned just about, your friends being able to do things. Like I have conversations with people all the time. I was saying it earlier when I first logged on that some people will tell you, it's easy to do, one of those things. They'd be like, it's not that hard to do this. I'm like, well, it kind of is. You know what I'm saying? And we are, we can have an argument about that. You know what I'm saying? It's telling me that it's easier said than done, or things like that. I'm like, well, it's not. It's not. It's just one of those things that I apply for. Just being brave to kind of continue that, and just to kind of stop the I guess the stigma that sometimes we are limping, and then we have to figure out why we're limping, so it's kind of just one of those things that we got to continue to, advocate for, and like you said, accept it, not necessarily feel down about it, after you do, you just kind of like learn about it, and that way you'll be able to know how to fix it. So that's a real good way to put it. That's a good point.
Yeah, I kind of want to just jump on that really quick, just to say that, like, again, I'm just so thankful every time I get to hear your guys' perspectives. And I wish we had more people who could be here and share their perspectives as well, because I know we jumped into a lot of like subtopics, and it would be great to hear people who had kind of just like on the other end of the spectrum, like different experiences. But yeah, I think it all boils down to like each individual person experiences things differently, and that's okay. And I think it's great that we're all here together and we're all sharing how we're doing life, and how we're getting past all the things and trying to constantly improve our mental and our physical, emotional well-being. So awesome. Thank you guys.
Absolutely. All right, everyone. We've all shared wonderful points on the importance of wellness, and thank you so much for sharing all that. And I wanted to close the meeting today with asking, what is one habit you would change to improve yourself?
I think for me, like, I will be honest, like, I have such a bad habit at night, like, with still sometimes being on my electronics, like, right before I go to sleep. So, like, I really need to start making sure that I get it off, like, at least, like, a half an hour but this is my goal for myself, like, a half an hour to 1 hour, like, before I go to sleep. That's one thing I will make sure to work on that.
I definitely can agree with you on that.
I think, oh, sorry. Are you going to go to John?
No, I was trying to think of something. I was trying to think like, like, let me think of something that
well,
I really
while
want
you
to do.
think, I can share mine because I already know mine. I know I can do more physical activity overall, and I know it would make a huge impact on like my energy and how I show up. Because anytime I do get extra physical activity, I'm super like enthusiastic. I'm a lot more energized. I don't have like the craving for constant like munching or snacks. Like I just feel like it kicks my body into like high gear when I have like good exercise consistently. So I think that's definitely a habit I could improve.
Well, that's a good one. Now that I think about it, one of the habits, like I say, my inattentiveness, I would come home sometimes and I would just sit there. So some of the things that I do or that I need to start doing is, like you guys mentioned, like put myself on a schedule. Just even with the sleep thing, I tried it, but it just didn't work. So I just stopped trying to fight it. Other certain type of things, just put myself on a like reading schedule, even just getting more into things, going back to the actual gym instead of doing things at home. Because that's what I was doing. That's why I was playing with Taekwondo, because I do jiu-jitsu and boxing. And then I started kickboxing when I moved here. But boxing is my first love with basketball. But then boxing was my first love. And then jiu-jitsu, I'm a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, but I haven't been there in a while. So maybe start working towards, trying to get my black belt in jiu-jitsu and just trying to do more things, not necessarily sit there. Because when I tell you, all I do is this sometimes, and I'm just like sitting there. So I got to be more productive with my time. I mean, I have a lot of interesting thoughts. I sit there and think about things, plan, but I need to start putting these plans into action. So just trying to, read. And one of the things I do have is Headspace. That's one of the apps that I use for different type of meditation. So it's kind of more I need to actually put those things into like a actual schedule instead of just kind of doing them here and there. Like, okay, so she's sitting here, go do something. I make myself do stuff, because I'm, living by myself with my 2 dogs. They're not gonna tell me to get up and do nothing unless they go sit by the door and they know it's time to go for a walk then. But at the same time, I gotta kind of just put myself more on a schedule and start small. Like I said, small steps leads to big leaps. So it's only up.
Absolutely. Are we doing plus no delta?
Yeah, we can end our call with a plus no delta. So everyone just shares one highlight of their time here at our roundtable discussion. Thank you, Mary.
Oh, the plus is just networking, getting to meet you guys, because I did see you guys on the chat and all that stuff. And like I said, I just kind of logged on to the community not too long ago. I'm just, because I'm not really a phone person either. I don't really I do have social media, but I don't get on there that much. Because like I said, I'm inattentive. I can't sit there that long to scroll. I'll be looking at stuff and being in my environment. But that is a plus, being able to network, meet new people and being able to kind of put the names and voices with the faces and things like that. So I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy, I'm able to meet everyone and share experiences. So it's a good thing that I was sitting around. So thank you.
I would say my plus would be moderating my first meeting.
Oh,
thank you.
I would say my plus, Mary, you did an awesome job.
Thank you.
Dijon, we're so glad we got to meet you on here and everything. And I really loved this roundtable discussion. We had a really good time. I'm so glad about that.
Yeah, my plus was just all the like amazing things that everyone shared, and just like I feel like we threw in like personal experience. We've thrown in like apps that could be helpful for other people who hear this. Like I loved learning about Abai, like meeting you. It's just, I loved it. It's hard to pick one thing as a plus because there's just so many good things. I'm so happy about this whole roundtable.
All right. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks for tuning in to Autism Knows No Borders. I love that this roundtable brought up different areas of well-being. Continuing to normalize and talk about mental health will eventually break the stigma around it. What are some ways you stay healthy in different aspects of your life? Do you have any stories or tips to share related to health and wellness? Share them over in our online Global Autism Community. Whether you're a self-advocate wanting to connect with other autistic people, or you're a family member hoping to support and empower your loved one, or you're a professional seeking to hear directly from autistic voices and improve your practice, you can join our online Global Autism Community to collaborate with people all over the world. Sign up today at community.globalautismproject.org. Let's work together to transform how the world relates to autism. Thanks for listening. Take care. Tune in each week for engaging conversations of how people across the globe are inspiring change and building community.
You've been listening to Autism Knows No Borders, brought to you by the Global Autism Project. You can find Rachel's notes for this episode and learn more about today's guests at autismknowsnoborders.com. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the show on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. By doing so, you'll be helping us increase awareness and acceptance of autism around the world.